Joining us now from New York is the number 3 Republican in the House, Congresswoman Stefanik. Welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Good to be with you, Shannon.
So let's start with this description by New York Magazine. It says the document has lots of bells and whistles and factoids about the hellish reign of Joe Biden and his Democrat Party. What it doesn't have is a whole lot of specificity. You heard that from the president, from other Democrats, too, who say there are a lot of slogans. Yes, everybody wants a safe country. They want good education. They want crime to go down. But it's the details of how you do that that matter. So why not more details in this plan?
Shannon, there are ample details. So number one, an economy that's strong. The first focus on economic issues is we need to rein in inflation. We start by doing that by reining in the reckless trillions of dollars of spending that we have seen under Joe Biden and unified Democrat far-left government. Number two, lower the price of energy. I hear that from my constituents in upstate New York, whether it's home heating bills or the price of gas. We have multiple bills that have already been introduced that Democrats refuse to bring up when it comes to lowering those energy costs. When it comes to supporting our law enforcement and having a nation that's safe, we have legislation that will immediately provide funding through recruitment and retention bonuses to hire an additional 200,000 police officers across this country. When it comes to freedoms, a future that's built upon freedom, I highlighted the Parents' Bill of Rights. This is a bill that Republicans already introduced and we are going to have ready to pass in the first 100 days of the next Congress. Day one, we intend to repeal the 87,000 IRS agents, the army of IRS agents that Joe Biden and Democrats have put into place to go after hardworking Americans, mom and pop small businesses, and middle-class Americans. So Democrats have no plan. They are attacking us because they have created crises across this country. We have a commitment to America to tackle the crises that Democrats have created to make sure that we have a strong economy, a safe country, a future that's built upon freedom, and a government that's accountable.
So one of the accusations about why there aren't more details, specific pieces of legislation, are that you're trying to hold a conference together. Steny Hoyer, the House Majority Leader, Democrat, says that this is about distracting from your narrative and your own deep divisions. The Washington Post also talks about this in the context of the Freedom Caucus, the more conservative members of the GOP, saying they're expected to make starker demands of leadership in exchange for their votes. I've talked to some members of the Freedom Caucus who do feel like they're being taken for granted a bit in this process. What would you say to them and about accusations you guys are divided?
I would say the media is trying to divide us. The Democrats are trying to divide us. We are united House Republicans, whether it's the Freedom Caucus, whether it's the Republican Governance Group or the Republican Study Committee. All members of Congress were able to provide input in this development of the commitment to America. But most importantly, Shannon, the American people, our constituents provided input in this process. Those are where our best ideas come. And the reality is Democrats have no plan when it comes to inflation. They have no plan when it comes to the crime crisis or the border crises. These crises have been created by Democrats unifying control of government in Washington. Republicans have a plan. We have legislation on each and every one of these issues, and we can't wait to get it done starting on day one as we earn back the House majority.
Okay, so that's a big promise to potential voters out there to cast their ballots for you. There are those out there who will remember that the GOP promised to do things like repeal Obamacare. If they got the Senate and the House back, they didn't do it. Steny Hoyer, again, one of the top Democrats on the other side, said when Republicans did last control Congress, it was a, quote, do-nothing Congress, that they're more about obstruction and not actually delivering. So how do you convince voters this time is different?
Well, first of all, Steny Hoyer is dead wrong. Look at the success. Look at the economic growth that we saw under Republican leadership working with the House, the Senate, and the White House. We had the most secure border in our nation's history. That's compared to the most unsecure border under Joe Biden. It's been a crisis with over 3 million illegals who have crossed the border. And those are the ones that we count. That doesn't include the significant number of gotaways. So this is a crisis that Democrats have created themselves. The American people are smart. They know that while Joe Biden started his inauguration day trying to unify the country, they have done nothing but divided the country. So Republicans are going to achieve this. I think not only are we going to earn back the House, but we're going to earn back the Senate as well. And we will send every bit of legislation that we promised to the president's desk. And it's up to Joe Biden whether he works with us or whether he will play politics and veto these important bills to rein in inflation, to support law enforcement to make sure we have a safe country, and to secure the border, which is in free fall under Biden's amnesty policies.
So let's talk about the border, because a recent Reuters Ipsos poll said that these, what many Americans view as political stunts of busing and flying people into blue cities or sanctuary places where they can then there are questions about what they've been told about going there. Democrats say you don't have a better plan, and they don't think that this is a good look. And in that poll, a majority of Americans said that they don't think it's okay to be transporting people this way. These are real people with real lives. Here's Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, a Democrat, on these transports.
They should start behaving like governors and stop behaving like human traffickers. They are putting politics over people in the most egregious way possible.
So how do you respond to those who say the optics of this aren't good for Republicans, that these are real people?
Well, first of all, Hakeem Jeffries should start acting like a leader rather than a partisan hack. We have this border crisis because of the amnesty policies and the wide open border that's happened under Democrat government, under Joe Biden. This is the most insecure border in our nation's history. Go to South Texas. We have a president of the United States and a vice president who refused to go to the southern border. The vast majority of House Republicans have gone to the southern border. We've seen with our own eyes Del Rio, Eagle Pass. We've seen that this is a humanitarian crisis, an economic crisis, a national security crisis. All of these border issues, all of this immigration crisis is a result of Joe Biden's failure. We had the most secure border in our nation's history, as I said, under President Trump. We know the policies that work. It's build the wall, it's end catch and release, and it's to make sure that we have a rule of law in this country. So Republicans will absolutely work to secure the border. Shame on Hakeem Jeffries for being a partisan pawn. He has a record as being the most pro-amnesty, one of the most pro-amnesty Democrats in this current Congress. And the reality is Republicans are polling plus 39 when it comes to border security in the most recent NBC poll. We're plus 19 on the issue of immigration. So this is an issue of safety. It's an issue of security, and it's an issue of who we are, the United States of America. Okay. Republicans will secure the border.
But when Republicans have controlled the White House, House, and Senate, immigration did not get resolved. The border was not fully secured.
But the border, we made significant inroads. If you look at the numbers of illegal crossings, that has skyrocketed, Shannon, under Joe Biden. The portions of the border wall are significant. That was more constructed under President Biden and Republican leadership than ever before in our nation's history. We were addressing the border security crisis, and that has unraveled starting on day one under Joe Biden, who has created this crisis. And the American people know that, and they're going to hold Democrats accountable for it this November.
Let's talk about this. Senator Schumer, across the aisle and across the Hill, had a critique of the plan that you rolled out this week. He said it's MAGA GOP extremist policies. He says a nationwide abortion ban, Medicare and Social Security on the chopping block, raising taxes on working families. He's able to cite and specifically point to GOP policies for those accusations. Is that a party blunder?
Absolutely not, Shannon. And Chuck Schumer has proposed the highest tax increase in our nation's history. This inflation expansion bill that Democrats just rammed through has tax increases on every working American. Republicans are the party of lowering taxes, and that's in stark contrast to Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, who have raised taxes. When it comes to Social Security and Medicare, Republicans are committed to saving and ensuring those programs exist for future generations. And that means making sure that they are fixed to exist for my generation and my son's generation. And when it comes to the issue of life, Republicans are proudly pro-life. We support our most vulnerable. I am the newest mom in Congress, and I know how important it is to stand up for life. So Chuck Schumer is attacking, and it's because they have no plan. America needs a change of course. We need true leadership in both the House and Senate who will focus on the crises that hardworking families are facing across this country. So, of course, Democrats are going to attack because, Shannon, they can't run on their record because it's a record of crisis and failure.
Chairwoman, we thank you for joining us to make the case to voters for the midterms, and we will see you again soon. Thanks for coming on.